The day the aliens arrived was sunny. Blue skies stretched over the United Nations building in New York, where world leaders gathered. No one expected the massive ship that appeared above the city that morning. The ship was smooth and silver. It looked like nothing made on Earth. People in the streets stopped and looked up. Some ran. Some took pictures. Most just stood with open mouths. Commander Joseph Miller watched from the roof of the UN building. As head of Earth's new space defense program, he should have been ready for this moment. But no one was truly ready. "They're hailing us on all frequencies," said Lisa Grant, standing beside him. She was Earth's top language expert and diplomat. Her red hair blew in the wind as she held up a tablet showing strange symbols. "Can you understand it?" Joseph asked. "The computer is translating now," Lisa said. Her eyes widened. "They want to meet us. Today. Here." 3 hours later, Joseph and Lisa stood in the UN's main hall with the Secretary General and leaders from major nations. The air felt thick with tension. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Coalition, 7 different species from distant stars who worked together. Their leader was Ambassador Xorlan from the Telvari species. He had gray skin that looked like metal in places. His 4 eyes blinked at different times as he looked around the room. "We have watched your planet for some time," Xorlan said through a small floating device that translated his clicks and whistles. "We decided it was time to welcome you to the galactic community." Lisa stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you and learn about life beyond our world. Humanity is young in space travel, but we are quick learners and eager to join your coalition." Xorlan made a sound like metal scraping. The translator said it was laughter. "Join? No, humans. You misunderstand. We are here to observe and study you. Your species is not ready for membership." The Secretary General frowned. "May I ask why not?" A second alien stepped forward. This one had blue skin and tentacles where arms should be. "We have studied your biology. Humans are soft, weak. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears. You live very short lives. And your technology," said a third alien with too many eyes. "So primitive. You've barely left your own moon." Joseph felt his face grow hot. "With respect, what we lack in physical strength, we make up for in other ways. We adapt. We solve problems. We create art and music." Xorlan waved a metal-plated hand. Yes, you have some interesting qualities. But the coalition requires members who can contribute meaningfully to our shared defense and knowledge." Lisa tried again. "If you would share your technology. We cannot give advanced technology to species who might use it unwisely." Xorlan said, "You will be granted observer status. Nothing more." For the next week, the aliens met with Earth scientists and leaders. They answered questions about the universe, but refused to share any important technology. They studied humans like scientists study ants. On the final day, Joseph and Lisa stood with Xorlan at his ship. "You are disappointed," Xorlan said. "We hoped for partnership," Lisa replied. "Perhaps in a few hundred years," Xorlan said, "when you are stronger. Until then, try not to destroy yourselves. It happens often with emotional species like yours." As the ship rose into the clouds, Joseph looked at Lisa. "They think we're weak," he said. Lisa watched the ship disappear. "Then we'll have to show them otherwise." 2 days later, all nations on Earth received the same message from the coalition. Earth was officially classified as a Class D developing world. The report described humans as physically inadequate and technologically primitive. Humans were granted permission to observe coalition meetings, but not to speak or vote. The galaxy had made its judgment. Humanity was weak, not worthy of respect. They would learn how wrong they were. 6 months after the aliens left, the world changed. Countries that once fought each other now worked together. Everyone knew that Earth needed to get stronger. Abigail Watkins sat at the head of a long table at NASA. As the new director, she had called this meeting of the world's best scientists. "The coalition thinks we're weak," she said. So we need to become strong in our own way. The room was quiet. On screens around them were pictures of the alien technology they had seen. It was far beyond what humans could make. "We can't copy their technology," said Kate Morrison, a young scientist with bright eyes. "But maybe we don't need to. Maybe we can make something new." Next to her, Alan Rodriguez nodded. "They're stronger than us physically. Their ships are faster. But did you notice how they think? Everything is by the book. No creativity." Abigail smiled. "Exactly. That's why today we start Project Descendants. We'll focus on what makes humans special, our ability to think in new ways." Across the country, Colonel Daniel Hayes stood in front of 50 soldiers. They were the first group chosen for a new type of space training. "The aliens think we're weak because our bodies break easily," he told them. "They're right about that. But they missed something important. Humans are good at solving problems in ways no one expects." He pointed to a strange obstacle course behind him. "This isn't about being the strongest or fastest. It's about thinking differently when things go wrong." For the next year, as scientists worked on new technology, Daniel's team practiced making quick decisions. They learned to use what was around them in creative ways. They studied the little information they had about alien tactics and found weaknesses. One day, Lisa Grant visited the training center. She watched as the soldiers worked through problems that would confuse even the smartest coalition species. "They're doing well," she told Daniel. "Better than expected," he agreed. "How's the diplomatic side going?" Lisa sighed. "Slow. We send messages to the coalition every week. They rarely answer. When they do, they treat us like children." "That will change," Daniel said. At the same time, in a lab in Boston, Kate Morrison called Alan Rodriguez over to her computer. "I think I've got it," she said. Her face glowed with excitement. On her screen was a new type of communication system. It used quantum particles in a way no one had tried before. "Will it work?" Alan asked. "In theory, it's 10 times faster than anything the coalition showed us," Kate said. "But we need to test it." 3 months later, they had their chance. A small coalition ship visited Earth to check on the primitive humans. While the main group met with Earth leaders, Kate and Alan tested their device. The Lorraine delegate, a small alien with purple skin and large eyes, noticed the signal. It found Kate and Alan in their lab. "This is interesting," the alien said, looking at their device. "Our scientists haven't tried this approach." For the first time, a coalition member seemed impressed by human work. Word spread quickly. Earth governments formed the Terran Alliance. They built ships that weren't as advanced as alien ships, but had new ideas built into them. They trained people who could think around problems instead of through them. 2 years after first contact, Earth sent its first official representative to a coalition meeting. Joseph Miller, now Admiral Miller, stood before the 7 species. "We appreciate our observer status," he said politely. "We look forward to showing what humans can contribute." Most coalition members didn't even look at him as he spoke. Only the Lorraine delegate seemed to be listening. As Joseph left the meeting, Ambassador Kforlin stopped him. "Your species works hard," the alien said, "but you are still centuries behind us." Joseph smiled. "Maybe in some ways, but humans are full of surprises." Thorlin made his metal-scraping laugh. "The galaxy has no use for surprises, human. We value strength and stability." "Then I guess we'll just have to wait until you need something different," Joseph said. He didn't know how soon that day would come. 10 years passed. Earth grew stronger, but the coalition still saw humans as weak. Few aliens visited Earth anymore. The coalition had more important things to worry about. On a quiet Tuesday, Admiral Joseph Miller was woken by an urgent call. A coalition ship had entered Earth's space without warning. "They're asking to land right away," said the officer on the screen. "Who is it?" Joseph asked, already getting dressed. "A Lorraine ship. They seem scared." 1 hour later, Joseph stood in a meeting room with Lisa Grant, now Earth's ambassador to the stars. Across from them sat Telva, the Lorraine who had once shown interest in human technology. Her purple skin looked pale. "We shouldn't be here," Telva said. Her large eyes darted around the room. "The Coalition forbids sharing information with Class D worlds. But we had nowhere else to go." "What's happened?" Lisa asked gently. Telva's hands shook as she placed a small device on the table. It showed a star map with red marks on many worlds. "Something is attacking Coalition worlds," she said. "We call them the Void Collective. They came from beyond known space 3 months ago." Joseph studied the map. "The Coalition is strong. Surely your defenses are failing," Telva finished. "The Void Collective isn't like us. They're made of silicon and metal. They think as one mind. Our weapons slow them down, but they learn and adapt quickly." Lisa looked at Joseph with concern. "Why come to us?" "The Coalition thinks we're weak." Telva made a sad whistling sound. "The Dravik and Telvari would never admit it, but your quantum communication technology has spread through the Coalition. Some of us have been watching Earth. You solve problems differently." "How many worlds have been lost?" Joseph asked. 17 outer colonies. Telva's voice was barely a whisper. "No survivors." The Terran Alliance Council met that same day. Leaders from all Earth nations watched Telva's recordings of the attacks. The Void Collective ships moved in perfect formation. When Coalition ships fired, the Void ships quickly changed tactics. "They learn fast," said Colonel Daniel Hayes, now a general. "But they're too perfect, too logical." President Howard Bennett looked around the table. "Can we help? Should we?" Lisa stood. "The Coalition may not respect us, but people are dying. If we can help, we should try." "Besides," Joseph added, "this threat could reach Earth eventually." The vote was unanimous. Earth would offer help. When Telva sent the message to the Coalition, the response was quick and angry. Ambassador Thorland's face filled the screen in the council room. "You brought this to Earth," he said to Telva. "The primitives have no place in Coalition defense matters." General Hayes stepped forward. "With respect, Ambassador, we've been studying your tactical reports. The Void Collective operates on logic and patterns. They predict what you'll do because you always follow the same military protocols. Our protocols are tested over centuries," Thorland said. "And that makes them predictable," Joseph replied. "Humans are good at being unpredictable." Thorland's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "This is not your concern." The call ended. For 2 weeks, Earth heard nothing more. Then reports came through the human observers at Coalition meetings. 3 more core worlds had fallen. The Void Collective was moving faster. 1 month after Telva's visit, a fleet of Coalition ships appeared in Earth's orbit. This time, Ambassador Thorland himself requested to land. In the same room where they had first met 12 years ago, Thorland stood before Earth's leaders. His metal-plated skin seemed duller than before. "The Coalition faces extinction," he said without greeting. "Our standard tactics fail. Our weapons are copied and countered. And now you want our help," President Bennett said. Thorland's voice box made a sound like a sigh. "The Void Collective's perfect logic cannot process human unpredictability. We need your support." Joseph and Lisa exchanged looks. The moment they had prepared for had arrived. The galaxy had called them weak until they needed them. "We'll help," President Bennett said, "but as equals, not observers." For the first time, Thorland looked at humans with something close to respect. The large meeting room at Terran Alliance headquarters was filled with both humans and aliens. Maps of the galaxy hung on walls, with red marks showing worlds taken by the Void Collective. Ambassador Thorland stood stiffly as President Bennett signed the agreement. Earth would help fight the Void Collective. In return, humans would be full members of the Coalition with equal rights. "This is highly unusual," Thorland said. "No species has ever joined the Coalition without proving themselves over centuries." "These are unusual times," President Bennett replied. Your usual ways aren't working against this enemy. General Hayes spread out battle plans on the table. The Void Collective uses perfect logic. They study how you fight and predict what you'll do next. But humans are messy. We do unexpected things. A tall alien with yellow scales laughed. This was General Kraz of the Dravik, the Coalition's top military leader. Monkey tactics won't help against their advanced weapons. Admiral Joseph Miller stepped forward. With all respect, General Kraz, your perfect formations and standard responses are what's failing. The enemy learns your patterns and uses them against you. You have proof this will work? Xorlan asked. Lisa pulled up a video showing training exercises where human ships moved in ways that confused Coalition military advisors. Your simulator said our attack plan would fail, but it did work, because we did what no logical mind would expect. Waste fuel on fake attacks. Pretend to retreat, then circle back. General Kraz shook his head, wasteful and primitive. A soft voice spoke from the corner. It was Telva, the Lorraine who had first sought Earth's help. But the Void Collective hasn't faced this before. Their whole system is based on logic and patterns. For 3 days, they argued. Many Coalition members didn't want human help. Some even suggested giving up outer worlds to save the core systems. On the 4th day, news came that another Coalition world had fallen. This one was just 3 jumps from a major population center. We don't have time to argue, President Bennett said firmly. Either accept our help as equals, or we'll prepare to defend Earth alone when the Void Collective reaches us. Finally, Xorlan agreed. The Coalition accepts Earth as a full member, he said, and accepts human, tactical input. The next day, Admiral Samantha Wright was named commander of the Joint Human Coalition Task Force. Sam had been one of General Hayes' first students. She was known for thinking in ways that confused even other humans. The Coalition officers looked doubtful when they met her. I know you don't believe in us, Sam told them. You think we're weak, primitive, but sometimes being different is exactly what's needed. Sam spent a week studying the Void Collective's attack patterns. She noticed things the Coalition had missed. The enemy was perfect, yes, but also rigid. They couldn't understand actions that didn't have logical purposes. We'll use that against them, she told her team. We'll do things that make no sense to them. General Kraz argued against her plan. You want us to split our forces, to send ships on jumps that waste fuel, to fire weapons in empty space. Yes, Sam said simply, because they won't expect it. Despite protests, the Coalition leaders had no better options. The combined fleet prepared for battle near the Arcturus system, directly in the path of the advancing Void ships. When the Void Collective arrived, they scanned the Coalition ships and prepared their usual attack. They had fought this enemy many times. They knew what to expect. But this time, the Coalition ships didn't follow their usual pattern. They moved in strange ways. Some ships jumped away only to return from unexpected directions. Others fired weapons at empty space, creating energy fields that confused sensors. For the first time, the perfect hive mind of the Void Collective hesitated. Their logic could not process the seemingly random actions. There was no pattern to predict. As the battle raged, Admiral Wright smiled. The plan was working. The galaxy had called humans weak, but sometimes being different was the greatest strength of all. News of the victory at Arcturus spread fast through the Coalition. For the first time in months, the Void Collective had been pushed back. Hope began to grow. On the command ship, Admiral Samantha Wright met with the Coalition officers. Their faces showed surprise and confusion. I don't understand how it worked, said General Kraz. His yellow scales reflected the light as he studied the battle reports. Your ships used twice the normal fuel. Your attack pattern was messy. But it worked, Sam said, because it wasn't a pattern at all. We made decisions the enemy couldn't predict. Xorlan entered the room. The metal plates on his skin gleamed. The Coalition Council wants a full report. They are impressed. Sam smiled. This was just the first step. To win this war, We need to teach your people to think more like humans. Think like humans. General Kraz looked offended. You mean be emotional and disorganized? I mean be flexible, Sam answered. The Void Collective learns patterns, so we need to keep changing our approach. The plan was simple but hard for many coalition species to accept. Mixed teams of humans and aliens would work together. Humans would teach the aliens to be less predictable. The aliens would share their advanced technology. Lieutenant Frank Diaz led the first mixed team. On a small coalition base, he stood before 20 aliens from 5 different species. Today we're going to play a game, he told them. I want you to try to surprise me. The aliens looked confused. Surprising someone on purpose wasn't something they normally did. A Telvari officer stepped forward. I will attempt to cause surprise, he said. Then he shouted loudly. Frank shook his head. I expected you to shout. That's not a surprise. For hours, the aliens tried to surprise Frank. Everything they did was logical, expected. Finally, a small Lorraine female threw her water at the ceiling instead of at Frank. That's it, Frank said, smiling as water rained down on everyone. I didn't expect that. It makes no logical sense to waste water on the ceiling. But it did surprise you, the Lorraine said. Exactly. All across coalition space, scenes like this played out. Humans taught aliens to be unpredictable. At first, many coalition species found it difficult or silly, but as more battles were won using human tactics, they began to understand. Dr. Olivia Patterson worked with coalition scientists to build technology that could act in random ways. Her team created weapons that changed their firing pattern each time, ships that could alter their energy signatures to confuse enemy scans. The key is controlled chaos, she explained to the scientists. Not completely random, but unpredictable to an outside observer. On the front lines, Admiral Wright's fleet pushed the Void Collective back from 3 more systems. Each time, the human-led forces used different tactics. Sometimes they attacked directly. Sometimes they set traps. Once they even pretended to abandon a planet, only to ambush the enemy when they moved in. The Void Collective could not adapt to an enemy that kept changing its approach. Their perfect logic became their weakness. After each victory, more coalition members began to respect humans. General Kraz still complained about wasteful tactics, but he followed Admiral Wright's orders. One evening, Sam found Ambassador Xorlin looking out at the stars from the ship's observation deck. You're troubled, she said. Xorlin turned his 4 eyes toward her. The coalition has existed for 2,000 years. We believed we knew everything about warfare, about strength. We dismissed humans as weak. Everyone makes mistakes, Sam said. My species rarely admits mistakes, Xorlin replied. But I was wrong about humans. You are not weak. You are different. And in this case, different is what we needed. Sam smiled. That's the most human thing I've ever heard you say. For the first time, Xorlin's metal-scraping laugh seemed genuine. In the ship's tactical room, the map of the galaxy showed the Void Collective in retreat. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, it seemed winnable. The galaxy had called humans weak until they needed their support. Now that support was turning the tide. 3 months had passed since the first victory at Arcturus. The war was going better, but the Void Collective was still dangerous. They learned from each defeat and tried new approaches. Admiral Sam Wright studied the latest battle reports in her office. The door opened, and General Kraz walked in. He looked tired. The Void Collective has changed tactics again, he said. They're trying to be unpredictable now. Sam nodded. They're learning. But they're still thinking in patterns, just more complex ones. On the main screen, a map showed coalition and Void Collective forces. The enemy had pulled back to a group of systems near the center of their territory. We need to press our advantage, Kraz said. My analysts suggest a direct attack on their supply lines. That's what they expect us to do, Sam replied. It's the logical move. So we need to do something else. Kraz made a frustrated sound. After all this time, I still don't understand how your mind works. Sam smiled. That's the point. Neither does the enemy. In the training center on the Coalition hub world Centaurus, Lieutenant Frank Diaz watched his mixed-species squad run through a practice mission. After months of training, they were finally working together well. "Good job, everyone," he said when they finished. "Especially you, Renmar." The Telvari officer nodded his metal-plated head. At first, Renmar had been the most difficult to train. His species valued logic above all else, but now he was creating tactical plans that surprised even Frank. "I have been studying human history," Renmar said. "Your wars were chaotic, but interesting. Your leader named Hannibal used elephants to cross mountains. No logical military commander would have done this." "That's exactly right," Frank said. "The best strategy is often the one your enemy thinks is too crazy to consider." On another part of the ship, Dr. Olivia Patterson met with Coalition scientists. They had created a new device that could predict what the Void Collective might do next. "The key was using human brain patterns," she explained. "Instead of pure logic, we added elements of intuition and creativity." A Lorraine scientist named Mira looked at the device with her large eyes. "We still don't fully understand how human intuition works, but the results are impressive." "Sometimes understanding isn't necessary," Olivia said. "Even humans don't always know why we get hunches or make creative leaps." Admiral Wright called a meeting of all fleet commanders. Human and alien officers filled the large room. The mood was serious but hopeful. "The Void Collective has pulled back to these systems," Sam said, pointing to the map. "They're protecting something important. We need to find out what it is." "Their central processing hub," suggested a human officer. "Or their main production facility," said a Coalition commander. Sam looked at the map thoughtfully. "Whatever it is, we need to find it. I'm authorizing a special mission." She turned to Frank Diaz. "Lieutenant, your mixed squad has the best training for this. I want you to take a small ship behind enemy lines. Find what they're protecting." Frank stood straighter. "Yes, Admiral. When do we leave?" "Tomorrow. This mission will be very dangerous. I need volunteers only." Every member of Frank's squad stepped forward, both humans and aliens. 3 months ago, this would never have happened. Now they trusted each other. The next day, Frank's small ship slipped away from the fleet. Using technology developed by Dr. Patterson, they could hide from the Void Collective sensors. As they moved deeper into enemy territory, Frank looked at his mixed crew. A Telvari, 2 Lorraines, a Dravik, and 3 humans, working together, trusting each other. On the main Coalition ship, Sam watched them disappear from sensors. "Will they succeed?" Thorlin asked, standing beside her. "If anyone can, they will," Sam answered. "They have the best of both worlds now, Coalition technology and human creativity." Thorlin was quiet for a moment. "When this war is over, the Coalition will never be the same. Humans have changed us. For the better, I hope," Sam said. "Yes," Thorlin admitted, "for the better." As Frank's ship moved silently through enemy space, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. The Void Collective thought in perfect logic. But now they faced an enemy who could think beyond logic, who could imagine the impossible. The galaxy had called humans weak. Now they were its greatest hope. Lieutenant Frank Diaz and his team moved carefully through the dark halls of the Void Collective station. They had found it hidden in an asteroid field near the center of enemy territory. After 2 weeks of searching, their small ship had detected strange energy readings coming from this place. "This must be their central hub," whispered Renmar, the Telvari officer. His metal-plated skin reflected the dim emergency lights. "Stay alert," Frank said quietly. "We need to find the main control room and place the disruptor." The disruptor was a small device created by Dr. Patterson. It could break the connection between Void Collective units, making them unable to think as one mind. but it had to be placed at the center of their network. The mixed team moved forward, with Mira, the Lorraine scientist, scanning for energy signals. Suddenly, she stopped. "Something's wrong," she said. "I'm picking up movement ahead." Before they could hide, 3 Void Collective units appeared around the corner. They looked like tall metal pillars with many arms and glowing blue eyes. The units immediately began to make a high-pitched noise. An alarm. "Take them down," Frank ordered. The team fired their weapons. The units fell, but the alarm continued to echo through the station. "We've lost the element of surprise," said Kelly, one of the human soldiers. "Now what?" Frank thought quickly. "We split up. Multiple targets will confuse them." In the past, Coalition soldiers would never have separated during a mission. It was against protocol. But these soldiers had trained with humans. They understood. 3 teams, Frank said. Each team takes a different path to the center. Whoever gets there first plants the disruptor. Meanwhile, back at the Coalition fleet, Admiral Wright received an urgent message. The Void Collective was moving. All their ships were heading toward the station where Frank's team was. "They know we found their hub," she told her officers. "We need to create a distraction." "But our main attack force isn't ready," General Kraz said. "We need 3 more days to gather all ships." Sam looked at the map. "We can't wait. We attack now, with what we have." As Coalition ships jumped toward the Void Collective station, Frank's team faced growing resistance. More and more enemy units filled the halls. The team had split up, with Frank leading one group, Renmar another, and Kelly the third. Frank's communicator crackled with static. "This is Kelly. We're pinned down in Section C. Can't reach the center from here." "Renmar here. Heavy resistance in Section B. Trying alternative route." Frank looked at his small team, 1 human and 1 Lorraine. "Looks like it's up to us." They fought their way through narrow corridors, using the confusion of the station's alarm to their advantage. Finally, they reached a large door marked with strange symbols. "This is it," Frank said. "The central control room." Outside the station, the battle had begun. Coalition ships engaged the Void Collective fleet. Admiral Wright used every unpredictable tactic they had developed. Ships jumped in and out of battle. Some feigned damage. Others flew in patterns that made no logical sense. But something was wrong. The Void Collective seemed to predict their moves now. "They're adapting faster than before," Sam realized. "We need that hub taken down." Inside the station, Frank's team forced open the central room door. Inside was a massive blue crystal surrounded by humming machines. Energy pulses moved between the crystal and the machinery. "That's their processing core," the Lorraine scientist said. "Place the disruptor there." As Frank moved toward the crystal, a voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. "Humans. Unpredictable. Dangerous." The crystal pulsed with each word. This was the Void Collective's central mind speaking. "You cannot win. We learn. We adapt." Frank placed the disruptor on the crystal surface. "That's the thing about humans. We keep changing the game." He activated the device. The crystal began to flicker. "Con. Action. Failing." The voice said, breaking up. "We are." Then silence. The crystal's light dimmed. Frank's communicator came to life. "Lieutenant, this is Admiral Wright. What's happening in there?" Frank smiled. "Mission accomplished, Admiral. The hub is down." Throughout the galaxy, Void Collective units suddenly stopped working together. Their perfect coordination shattered. The tide of battle had turned for good. 6 months after the destruction of the Void Collective hub, representatives from all Coalition worlds gathered on Earth. It was the first time the Coalition Council had ever met outside their traditional meeting places. The United Nations building in New York had been expanded for the event. Flags from Earth nations flew alongside banners from Coalition worlds. It was a historic day. Admiral Samantha Wright stood in her dress uniform beside President Bennett. Around them were the heroes of the war, Lieutenant Frank Diaz, Dr. Olivia Patterson, and many others, both human and alien. Ambassador Xorlan approached the podium. His metal-plated skin gleamed under the lights. "Today marks a new beginning for the Galactic Coalition," he said. His translator made his clicks and whistles into clear words. "For 2,000 years, we believed strength came in only one form. We valued physical power and technological advancement above all else." He looked around the room, his 4 eyes blinking. "We were wrong. When the Void Collective threatened our existence, our traditional strengths failed us. It was Earth, a world we once dismissed as weak, that showed us true strength comes in many forms." The crowd applauded, humans and aliens together. "From this day forward, Earth will be a full and equal member of the Coalition. All human strengths, adaptability, creativity, and resilience will be valued alongside the strengths of other species." President Bennett stepped forward to sign the official agreement. It was the same table where, years ago, humans had been granted only observer status. After the ceremony, Admiral Wright found General Kraz by the refreshment table. "Enjoying Earth food?" she asked. The Dravik general held up a small cake. "Sweet, but good. Like many things about your world, unexpected but pleasant. High praise from you," Sam said with a smile. Kraz made a rumbling sound that was his species' version of laughter. "I was wrong about humans. I once called your tactics monkey tricks. Now I study them at our military academy." Across the room, Frank Diaz and his team from the station mission were receiving medals. Each member, human and alien alike, stood proud as Coalition and Earth honors were pinned to their chests. Dr. Patterson was surrounded by scientists from many worlds, all eager to learn about her latest projects. The blending of human intuition with alien technology had opened new fields of research across the galaxy. As the celebration continued, Lisa Grant, now Earth's chief diplomat, joined Sam by the window. Outside, people from Earth and Coalition worlds mingled in the streets. "Did you ever think you'd see this day?" Lisa asked. Sam shook her head. "When they first called us weak, I never imagined we'd end up teaching them about strength." "Different isn't weak," Lisa said. "That's the lesson everyone learned." The next morning, a new ship prepared to launch from Earth's orbital dock. It was the first vessel designed with both Coalition technology and human philosophy. Its hull was made of advanced alien metals, but its systems were flexible and adaptable, like humans. The ship was named Unity, and its crew was mixed, humans and aliens working together as equals. Its captain was Susan Rivera, who had served with Admiral Wright during the war. As the ship prepared to depart, Ambassador Xorlan stood on the observation deck with President Bennett. "Where will they go first?" Xorlan asked. "To the edge of known space," President Bennett replied. "There's so much more to explore. Once, we would have found that idea frightening," Xorlan admitted, "exploring without a detailed plan. But now we understand the value of your human approach." As the Unity ship disappeared into the stars, a new era began. The galaxy had called humans weak until they needed their support. Now that support had transformed into partnership, humans stood as equals among the stars, their unique strengths recognized and valued. And when new challenges arose, as they always would, the combined strengths of all species would face them together. Different, but united, each bringing their own form of strength to the galaxy.